Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Madam Secretary. First, I believe that this budget does decimate public education. But let's talk about, for a minute, institutional racism and racial discrimination and what this budget says about students of color. For me, it's a slap in the face. First of all, you cut $1 million from the Office of Civil Rights. Secondly, there are about 29 programs, including 21st Century Community Learning Centers, that's after-school programs for low-income students. You're zeroing out American history, civics history, literacy programs, Promise Neighborhoods. These are all programs that are critical to students of color and low-income communities. We know that school discipline practices disproportionately impact Black and Latino students. For example, the data released by the Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights, and I'm wondering now if this is why you want to cut that budget, over three times more likely brown and Black students to be expelled than their white peers. Now, recently, you said that you weren't sure or you didn't know whether or not race plays a role in school discipline. Now, isn't it your job to be sure that schools aren't executing harsher punishments for the same behavior because they're Black or brown? Could you kind of talk a little bit about your views on students of color?
Thank you, Congresswoman.
The disparities in expulsions and suspensions.
Well, you've posed a number of different issues and questions here, and let me just begin by thanking you for your concern more broadly around students of color. And I just want to say that I believe this budget does very much not only protect but encourage students of color to pursue their education through level Title I funding, through expanding opportunity grants for parents to be empowered to choose a different school if their assigned school is not working for their child, for expanding charter school programs.
I understand. I'm talking about public education, Madam Secretary. And I'm talking about eliminating the Office of Civil Rights, and I'm talking about in the public sector what you're doing.
I'm talking about public education, expanding opportunities for students within a community to attend a different public school in that community, to expand charter school options. With regard to HBCUs, there was debt loan forgiveness in the wake of Hurricane Katrina, and we have also continued our commitment to supporting HBCUs by naming the board to the finance board for HBCUs. I believe that this administration actually has a very strong record, and this budget is very much oriented around ensuring that students, the most vulnerable, are protected and encouraged to be able to pursue education that is right for them.
But you're robbing Peter to pay Paul in many of these budget items in terms of, say, opportunity grants not being authorized. But also, let me just say you still haven't talked about the issue in public schools as it relates to Black and brown students and the high disparity rates as it relates to suspensions and expulsions. And is race a factor? Do you believe that or not?
Let me just say,
is there racial bias?
There is no place for discrimination, and there is no tolerance for discrimination. And we will continue to uphold that. I'm very proud of the record of the Office for Civil Rights in continuing to address issues that arise to that level.
But you're taking away $1 million from the Office of Civil Rights.
The team and the Office for Civil Rights is doing an amazing job. They have continued to investigate and solve and resolve issues at a much more rapid rate than was previously done, and they are doing so. We have decentralized their decision-making around this and their ability to see these cases through to resolution. And so I will continue to defend all of the work that they have done more effectively.
But you're still cutting their budget, Madam Secretary, and that's going to mean that we'll have less civil rights enforcement for students of color. Also, just look at what you're suggesting as it relates to the discipline guidelines in the Obama administration that ensured that students of color were not subject to harsher discipline practices. you're actually talking about that now. What does that mean for Black and brown students?
Congresswoman, I said before, I'll say again, there is no place for discrimination, and we are not tolerating discrimination.
But you're saying that policies and your budget show
The Office
differently.
for Civil Rights budget reduction is less than 1%. The office is being operated and is functioning at a much more efficient level than it was previously, and so they're able to do more with less.
Madam Secretary, that's